Win the protagonist's sister at the beginning and be rewarded with Supreme Bone. Chapter 1. Divine Desolate Realm, Eastern Territory. Absolute Beginning Holy Land, Shungji Peak. Lu Chen, are you telling the truth? As long as I stay with you for one night, you will let my brother go. In an antique and luxuriously decorated room, a stunning girl with exquisite facial features and slim figure bit her red lips and said softly and tremblingly. The girl is about 18 years old, wearing a green dress, with fair and delicate skin, and a youthful figure. In front of the girl, stood an extremely handsome young man wearing a white robe, with a temperament that resembled that of an immortal. Lu Chen stood there, his eyes blank, as if he was completely petrified. Looking at the pure and beautiful girl in front of him, Lu Chen felt confused. Where is this? Am I not in heaven and earth to save a lost girl? Before Lu Chen could think more, a wave of memories surged through Lu Chen. Lu Chen frowned slightly, the past of this body flashed in Lu Chen's mind like a movie scene. Memories were like a storm, raging in Lu Chen's mind. In a moment, the memories in Lu Chen's mind were completely integrated by Lu Chen. When the memories were completely integrated, Lu Chen was completely confused. I'm transmigrated. Transmigrated into the world of a fantasy and mindless novel. From the memories fused in his mind, Lu Chen understood his situation and that he had transmigrated. Moreover, what Lu Chen transmigrated was from a fantasy novel, The Legend of Heavenly Emperor, that he had read. Shenhuang Heavenly Emperor is a brainless fantasy novel, as you can tell from the name. It is a brainless and exciting novel in which the protagonist wears the halo of the protagonist and kills everything, and finally becomes the invincible Heavenly Emperor. Lu Chen's transmigrate identity is not the protagonist, but a villain in the novel, the Holy Son of the Absolute Beginning Holy Land. At the same time, Lu Chen also knew who the stunning girl in front of him was. It is Yi Lingxi, a destined heroine in this novel who is also the protagonist's sister. The current plot is that the protagonist Yi Bufan joins the Absolute Beginning Holy Land with the help of the powerful ancient holy body and rises to fame. Not long after Yi Bufan joined the Holy Land of Absolute Beginning, he did not know how high the level of provocation was to Lu Chen. Lu Chen relied on his identity and used a few tricks to get Yi Bufan arrested by the Law Enforcement Hall, where he suffered punishment. The protagonist's sister, because she was worried about Yi Bufan, came to plead with Lu Chen and wanted Lu Chen to let Yi Bufan go. Of course Lu Chen did not agree easily, but made a conditional deal and let Yi Lingxi stay with him for one night. Thinking of the current situation, Chase Lu felt speechless. What's wrong with Transmigrate? Transmigrate has become the villain. Having read the original work, Lu Chen knew how miserable the consequences of this identity would be. In addition to taking some advantage in the early stage because the protagonist had not grown up yet. He was basically crushed by a strong force in the back. He was obviously the holy son of a top holy land, but he was beaten by the protagonist in all directions. In the end, not only was he killed, but his own family was also wiped out by the protagonist. Lu Chen, you don't want to go back on your word, do you? Wearing a green dress, the pure and charming Yi Lingxi said quickly when she saw Lu Chen was silent for a long time and her face was full of worry. Ding! The Destiny heroine Yi Lingxi is asking the host to let Yi Bufan go, triggering the God-level choice. Closing square bracket. Choice 1. Since you have spoken, Lingxi, I will not argue too much with Yi Bufan. As for the deal, let's just let it go and reward Yi Lingxi with +10 favorability. Closing square bracket. Choice 2. Haha, I was just joking. I and Yi Bufan are at odds with each other. You can get out and reward Yi Lingxi with her intimate clothes 1. Closing square bracket. Choice 3. This holy son is true to his word. As long as you do it, nothing will be a problem. You will be rewarded with Supreme Bone 1. Closing square bracket. At this time, the mechanical sound of an ice machine sounded in Lu Chen's ears. Hearing this cold mechanical sound, Lu Chen felt ecstatic in his heart. This sound was the system. Okay, there is a system, then it's okay, villain. I am the strongest villain. Soon, information about the system emerged in Lu Chen's mind. It turns out that this system is a god-level selection system. As the plot develops, the system will give out choices from time to time. As long as you make a choice, you can get corresponding rewards. After knowing the function of this system, Lu Chen began to think about his current options. Yi Lingxi's favorability. Although Yi Lingxi is pure and beautiful, has outstanding talents, and is a goddess-level existence in the Absolute Beginning Holy Land, there are countless disciples in the Absolute Beginning Holy Land who regard her as the goddess in their dreams. However, there is a trick: I will be to death by the protagonist in the future. Why do I want to be favored by this heroine? As for Yi Lingxi's obscene clothes, I'm not a pervert, so why would I want this? Moreover, if this has not been worn before, I will not choose it because of my blood loss, and I will not choose it. I choose 3. Chase Lu made a quick decision and chose 3. Supreme Bone, this is the top super physique. Although his talent is good, compared with Supreme Bone, he is still far behind. If you have Supreme Bone, the path of cultivation will be much smoother, and you will be properly supreme. I keep my word, as long as you do it, nothing will be a problem. Lu Chen then walked up to Yi Lingxi, lifted Yi Lingxi's chin, and said with a stern expression. Lu Chen, who had read the original work, knew that this suppression had no effect on Yi Bufan. Instead, it was because of this incident that Yi Bufan shined in the law enforcement hall and was appreciated by the Supreme Elder of the Absolute Beginning Holy Land. From then on, Yi Bufan slowly began to suppress Lu Chen with the appreciation of the Supreme Elder. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the choice and obtaining the Supreme Bone. Do you want to fuse it now? Closing square bracket. The moment Lu Chen completed his choice, a cold mechanical sound quickly appeared in Lu Chen's mind. In Lu Chen's system space, a Supreme Bone exuding golden Dao patterns appeared. Yes, this system is awesome. You will be rewarded when you make a choice. It's really great. Hearing the mechanical sound of the system, Lu Chen felt happy in his heart. With such a system, why not rise against the trend? Not fused yet. Chase Lu thought to himself, now is not the time for fusion, the deal with this destiny heroine has not been completed yet. Okay, Lu Chen, if you go back on your word, I will make you pay the price with your blood, even if we die together. Looking at the handsome Lu Chen in front of her, Yi Lingxi bit her silver teeth and said with a trembling voice. Clatter. Lu Chen lightly snapped his fingers. A black shadow penetrated from outside and turned into a middle-aged man. Shadow Guard Shu Fu knelt humbly in front of Lu Chen and said respectfully, His Royal Highness, what are your orders? Go and ask Elder Li of the Law Enforcement Hall to let Yi Bufan go. This matter is a misunderstanding. Lu Chen defended the shadow in front of him calmly. Yes, Your Highness the Holy Sun. Shu Fu didn't ask any more questions and directly answered Lu Chen's words, then turned into a shadow and disappeared into the room. Yi Lingxi saw the shadow guard leaving with Lu Chen's orders, and her heart slowly relaxed. As long as my brother is safe and can practice well, everything will be worth it. Okay, I have let Yi Bufan go. What about you? Is it time to fulfill your agreement? Lu Chen said calmly, looking fiercely at the stunning girl Yi Lingxi in front of him. Yi Lingxi is one of the destined heroines and the younger sister of the protagonist. Her talent and appearance are among the best in the entire world of gods. Lu Chen's gaze made Yi Lingxi's heart tremble, and her soft body trembled slightly. However, now that things have reached this point, this is my choice, and I have no way out. Just treat yourself as if you were bitten by a dog. Yi Lingxi sighed inwardly, and then silently came to Lu Chen. She clenched her pink fist tightly with a look of despair on her face, not daring to look at Lu Chen in front of her. You like this? Who is interested? Looking at Yi Lingxi who looked hopeless, Lu Chen said lightly, with a look of disdain on his face. Such an attitude really makes it difficult for Lu Chen to enjoy himself. I'm already like this, what else do you want from me? Seeing Lu Chen's indifference, Yi Lingxi was furious and felt even more aggrieved. As a goddess-level figure in the Absolute Beginning Holy Land, I don't know how many people want to kiss her. However, even though Lu Chen was like this, Lu Chen was still indifferent, which made Yi Lingxi doubt her charm. Lu Chen snorted coldly and rubbed Yi Lingxi's face fiercely, humph. I can let Yi Bufan go, but I can also continue to manipulate Yi Bufan. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Yi Lingxi did not dare to say any more. She paid such a high price just for Yi Bufan. If Lu Chen is angered and allowed to continue to deal with Yi Bufan, then he will have no place to cry. Lu Chen, please don't hurt my brother, I know what to do. Yi Lingxi turned pale and then said softly. Absolute Beginning Holy Land, Law Enforcement Hall. The Law Enforcement Hall is the law enforcement agency of the Absolute Beginning Holy Land and holds great authority. Anyone who violates the sect's rules or makes a big mistake will be sent to the Law Enforcement Hall and accepted for trial. Many disciples in the Absolute Beginning Holy Land are also in awe of this Law Enforcement Hall and do not dare to offend it at all. In an ice room exuding a cold atmosphere in the Law Enforcement Hall, an extremely handsome young man with perseverance in his features was imprisoned in the ice room. The biting cold air in the cold room constantly impacted the young man's body, but it was unable to shake him at all. Instead, it made his aura deeper. The young man has always been calm and composed, without any fear on his face. Yi Bufan is a good seedling, but it's a pity. Outside the ice room, Elder Li Xiao from the Law Enforcement Hall looked at Yi Bufan, who was calm and composed, with a look of pity on his face. This ice chamber is made of the best black ice and contains the ultimate cold aura. If you stay in it for a long time, it will be extremely lethal to the body and soul of the monks. It is specially used to punish those disciples who have made big mistakes. And for Yi Bufan to be so calm in the ice room, it is obvious that his talent and background are extremely strong. Humph, old man, you and that guy Lu Chen are the same thing, why bother pretending? Just wait for me, there will be a time in the future when you will regret it. Hearing Li Xiao's words, Yi Bufan's eyes were full of sarcasm and he sneered. Yi Bufan, you are too crazy. You are just an ancient holy body that broke 3 shackles of heaven and earth. Do you really take yourself seriously? Yi Bufan's words made Li Xiao's face become extremely ugly. As Zhong Lai of the Law Enforcement Hall, everyone respected him, and no one dared to threaten him like this. The ancient holy body is the top super holy body. Because of its extremely powerful potential, it has been given 10 shackles of heaven and earth by heaven. The once super powerful ancient holy body also became a useless body due to the 10 shackles of heaven and earth. However, Yi Bufan had the best opportunity to break the 3 shackles of heaven and earth, and his strength was very strong. It was precisely because he broke the 3 shackles of heaven and earth that the Absolute Beginning Holy Land made an exception and accepted Yi Bufan as a disciple. Haha, just wait. Yi Bufan said nothing more, but closed his eyes and continued to absorb the power of the surrounding black ice. Okay, I'll wait and see how long you can last in this ice room. The power of extreme cold in the ice room will become stronger and stronger. Soon, you will taste the pain. Li Xiao sneered, with a look in his eyes full of cold color. There are also top-notch formations in this ice chamber, and the power of extreme cold will continue to strengthen. When it reaches its strongest point, even he will be unable to withstand it. Yi Bufan ignored Li Xiao and was filled with disdain. To others, this ice chamber was a painful punishment, but to Yi Bufan, it was a top spiritual place for cultivation. Even if the power of extreme cold were increased 1,000 times, it would not have any impact on him. Elder Li, His Royal Highness the Holy Sun wants us to release Yi Bufan. Just as Yi Bufan was absorbing the power of the surrounding black ice, a disciple from the Law Enforcement Hall came to Li Xiao and said respectfully, "Let Yi Bufan go." After hearing the disciple's report, Elder Li Xiao's face became uncertain, and his eyes were full of shock. He didn't expect that Lu Chen would let Yi Bufan go. After repeated inquiries and confirming the authenticity of the news, Li Xiao took out a deep breath and said coldly to Yi Bufan, "Yi Bufan, His Royal Highness the Son of God has a lot of people. If he doesn't want to compete with you, a family member, you can get out." Quote. After saying that, Li Xiao no longer hesitated, opened the door of the ice room, used his domineering spiritual power to grab Yi Bufan, and threw Yi Bufan directly out of the Law Enforcement Hall. Yi Bufan, who was thrown out of the Law Enforcement Hall, was confused. That guy Lu Chen let him go. What was going on? Isn't that Yi Bufan? Yi Bufan offended His Royal Highness the Holy Sun, and the Law Enforcement Hall let Yi Bufan off so easily. Didn't you hear what Elder Li said? His Royal Highness the Sun does not care about Yi Bufan. His Royal Highness the Holy Sun is still the same as before. This Yi Bufan is so arrogant, he should be taught a lesson and let him suffer more in the Law Enforcement Hall. I cried to death. His Royal Highness the Holy Sun is so kind. Even a guy like Yi Bufan forgives easily. At the entrance of the law enforcement hall, there were many disciples from the absolute beginning Holy Land. After seeing Yi Bufan being thrown out of the law enforcement hall, they all started talking. Although Yi Bufan's talent and strength are astonishing, he is very arrogant, and many of his disciples are quite disgusted with him. You trash, why are dogs barking here? You have time to bark here, why not practice more? How can there be trash like you in the Holy Land? Yi Bufan heard the discussion around him and said with a gloomy face. Yi Bufan, as the ancient holy body that broke the shackles of heaven and earth, believed that he would rule the 9 heavens in the future, and he despised Lu Chen, the holy son of the absolute beginning Holy Land. In Yi Bufan's view, these ordinary Holy Land disciples were no different from trash. When the disciples around him heard Yi Bufan's words, they immediately lost their guard, spitting out fragrance and reprimanding Yi Bufan. Yi Bufan naturally did not waste too much time with them and left the law enforcement hall directly. Although he didn't know why Lu Chen let him go, Yi Bufan felt a sense of irritation and sadness in his heart, as if something very important was slowly disappearing from his heart. It's better to improve your strength as soon as possible. Although I don't want to admit it, that guy Lu Chen still has some strength. I must improve my strength as soon as possible and crush him severely in the future to vent the hatred in my heart. Yi Bufan suppressed the inexplicable emotions in his heart and murmured in his heart. Then, Yi Bufan quickly returned to his residence to practice. The next day, Shengji Peak. After a night of practice, Yilingshi had already left St. Child Peak. In the antique room, Lu Chen's face was full of excitement. In Lu Chen's body, there are 5 spiritual veins of creation that exude the incomparable power of creation. These creation spiritual veins are the sign that the monks have reached the realm of creation. The 5 spiritual veins of creation in Lu Chen's body mean that Lu Chen's cultivation has reached the 5th layer of creation. Yilingshi also has a top-notch physique, Taiyan body. The Taiyan body is the top cultivation physique. Practicing together with the Taiyan body can greatly increase the speed of cultivation. Especially the first practice is of great benefit and can help people break through bottlenecks and improve their cultivation. In the divine desolate realm, the cultivation realms are divided into Qi condensation, Xuandan, Ling, divine sea, Nirvana, life and death, creation, Tao palace, saint, saint king, great sage, quasi-emperor, supreme, great emperor. Each realm is divided into 9th layer days. The effect of the Taiyan body is so powerful. It seems that it is best to completely control this Yilingshi and make her my exclusive cultivation tool. Feeling the surging spiritual power in his body, Lu Chen's heart became lively. In the original work, Yilingshi cares about Yi Bufan, but because of their identities, she has never expressed her feelings. Lu Chen felt that he must hold on to such a valuable existence. You have to plan carefully. After all, Yilingshi and Yi Bufan have a very deep relationship. Lu Chen murmured in his heart. Yi Bufan and Yilingshi have been dependent on each other since childhood, and their relationship is very deep. It can be seen from Yilingshi's willingness to sacrifice herself for Yi Bufan's safety that the relationship between the two cannot be easily shaken. Then I still have to start with Yi Bufan. Lu Chen touched his chin. Since Yilingshi cares about Yi Bufan very much, starting from Yi Bufan is the best choice. Shu Fu, from now on, let the shadow guard closely monitor all the movements of Yi Bufan and Yilingshi. Lu Chen then snapped his fingers and summoned his shadow guard Shu Fu. Now that it has been decided to capture Yilingshi, the intelligence work must be done well. Although Chase Lu has read the original work, his appearance has undoubtedly changed a bit, and the future plot may have a new direction. Yes, Your Highness the Holy Sun. Shadow Guard Shu Fu said respectfully, then turned into a black shadow and disappeared into the room. In the original work, Lu Chen did not take Yi Bufan seriously, but now Lu Chen is a brand new Lu Chen, and naturally he will not underestimate this destined protagonist. There is also a supreme bone. I hope this supreme bone will not disappoint me. Lu Chen then looked at the supreme bone exuding golden Tao patterns in his system space. System, fused with supreme bone. Lu Chen then said silently in his mind, preparing to fuse supreme bone now. Whoosh whoosh. Lu Chen's thoughts moved, and the golden supreme bone in the system space flew out from the system space. Countless golden rays of light emanated from the golden bones. There are also a large number of mysterious Tao patterns on the bones, exuding an aura of incomparable vicissitudes of life. After the supreme bone appeared, it slowly merged towards Lu Chen's chest, and a large amount of golden light also surged towards Lu Chen like a tide. In a moment, the golden skull entered Lu Chen's body, exuding mysterious power and merging with Lu Chen. With the fusion of supreme bone, Lu Chen's blood continued to boil, and countless strange phenomena emerged behind Lu Chen. Lu Chen only felt that his body was undergoing unprecedented transformation, and his potential and heritage were skyrocketing crazily. Absolute Beginning Holy Land, Tianji Peak. Tianji Peak is a tall and majestic mountain in the Absolute Beginning Holy Land. It is full of spiritual energy and beautiful scenery. Many inner disciples practice here. In a quiet bamboo forest. Brother, are you okay? Outside the bamboo forest, the pure and graceful Yi Lingxi saw Yi Bufan, who was practicing hard in the bamboo forest, with a look of worry on his face. It's just a mere law enforcement hall. How can you do anything to me? Your brother and I will be people who will ascend to the 9 heavens in the future. Yi Bufan saw his sister and said quickly, with an invincible look on his face. After Yi Lingxi left Shengji Peak, she got the news that the law enforcement hall had released Yi Bufan. However, for the sake of his safety, she decided to come and see her brother. Brother, just be okay. Now seeing Yi Bufan as confident and arrogant as ever, without any influence, he finally showed a long-lost smile. As long as my brother is fine, everything is worth it. The big bad guy really did keep his promise. Although he is very bad, he still has a good reputation. Looking at her brother, everything was as usual, Yi Lingxi murmured in her heart. Bah, 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 what am I thinking? That's the devil, the super big devil. Then, Yi Lingxi seemed to think of something, and her heart was filled with humiliation and hatred. Yi Lingxi's methods made Yi Lingxi very scared. It seemed like falling into an endless hell. However, what Yi Lingxi didn't notice was that there seemed to be traces of joy in her heart. However, this pleasure was hidden so deeply that even she herself did not notice it. Lingxi, are you hurt? Someone is bullying you. At this time, a cold and biting sound interrupted Yi Lingxi's thoughts. Yi Bufan's eyes were full of coldness, staring straight at Yi Lingxi's neck. I saw a strange mark on the white part of Yi Lingxi's neck. For some reason, seeing this mark made Yi Bufan feel irritable. No, it's okay. It was last night when I was practicing martial arts in the mountains and was bitten by a mosquito. Yi Lingxi quickly covered the mark on her neck, lowered her head and whispered. Before coming, Yi Lingxi had used elixir to eliminate most of the scars, but some marks were difficult to eliminate at all. It turns out that the mosquitoes in the forest are too poisonous. Lingxi, you have to be careful in the future. Yi Bufan did not doubt Yi Lingxi's words. The relationship between the two was very deep, and Yi Bufan did not think that Yi Lingxi would deceive him. Yi Lingxi promised, I will, brother. Lingxi, you don't know how stupid those people in the law enforcement hall are to use the best Xuanbing chamber to deal with me. Your brother and I are the ancient holy body. How can a mere Xuanbing chamber deal with me? It's still mine. What an opportunity. It's unlucky to say that Lu Chen, that crazy guy, actually let me go. Who wants him to let me go? If I were locked up for a little longer, maybe I could break through the realm. Yi Bufan did not dwell on this matter anymore, but said angrily, with a look of unwillingness on his face. Yi Lingxi. Hearing Yi Bufan's words, Yi Lingxi felt her head buzzing and her face instantly turned pale. That law enforcement hall couldn't do anything to my brother, but it was his chance. Then Thinking of this, Yi Lingxi felt a little broken in her heart. I paid such an important thing, and the result was that I messed up things. Lingxi, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell? Yi Bufan noticed the change in Yi Lingxi's face and asked worriedly. No, it's okay. Maybe I practiced too much yesterday and I'm a little tired. Yi Lingxi showed a forced smile and said softly. Although she was very angry, Yi Lingxi didn't want Yi Bufan to know that her body had been taken away by Lu Chen. Lingxi, you don't have to force yourself to practice so hard. I will definitely become a peerless strong man in the future, and I will protect you. Yi Bufan looked at his extremely weak sister and felt heartbroken. He knew that although his sister looked weak, she was also an extremely strong person with a firm heart. Her desire to become stronger was not weaker than his own. Yi Lingxi nodded blankly. At this time, she was still worried and immersed in regret. Lingxi, I heard that you have a good relationship with Fairy Yuchen. Can you help me make an appointment with Fairy Yuchen? I want to meet her. After a while, Yi Bufan continued, looking at Yi Lingxi expectantly. Zhang Yuchen is the saint of the absolute beginning Holy Land, and she is also the princess of the Zhang family of the Emperor clan. Her appearance, identity and talent are all top-notch, and she is the most famous Fairy Yuchen in the world of gods. The first time Yi Bufan saw the absolute beginning Holy Land disciple recruitment ceremony, he remembered that magnificent woman in his heart. Yi Fan had already secretly vowed in his heart that he must win over the incomparable noble absolute beginning saint. However, Yi Bufan is still only an inner disciple of the absolute beginning Holy Land and has no access to Zhang Yuchen. Therefore, Yi Bufan wanted to contact Zhang Yuchen through Yi Lingxi, who had a good relationship with Zhang Yuchen. Yi Bufan is extremely confident. As long as he has the opportunity to get in touch with Zhang Yuchen will definitely be impressed by his charm, and when the time comes, he will definitely win the beauty. Brother, you. Sister Yuchen is devoted to the Tao and is not someone who will be easily tempted. When Yi Lingxi heard Yi Bufan's words, an extremely gentle and charming beautiful woman flashed in her mind. Although Zhang Yuchen is gentle and charming, Yi Lingxi has had a lot of contact with her and knows that she is also a person with a firm heart and will not be trapped by the love between her children. Moreover, Zhang Yuchen is also the princess of the Zhang family of the Emperor clan. Although she had confidence in her brother, Yi Lingxi still subconsciously felt that there was a bit of a disparity in identity between the two parties. Lingxi, your brother and I will rule over the 9 heavens in the future. It's just Zhang Yuchen. You just need to make an appointment with me. When Yi Bufan heard his sister's words, he frowned slightly and continued. Okay. Then I'll give it a try. Yi Lingxi bit her red lips and said slowly. Lingxi, you are the best, I knew you would help me. Seeing that Yi Lingxi agreed, Yi Bufan showed an excited expression, and the image of Zhang Yuchen being conquered by him already appeared in his mind. 3 days later, in the room of Shengjifeng. After 3 days and 3 nights of fusion, Supreme Bone at this time has completely integrated with Lu Chen. Countless golden auras shone around Chen Lu's body, especially on Lu Chen's chest, where the bright auras almost condensed into substance. A large number of laws of heaven and earth and mysterious spiritual energy are constantly intertwined around Lu Chen. Lu Chen, who was originally extremely handsome, has a slightly more ethereal temperament due to the fusion of Supreme Bone, just like Supreme from the ancient times, giving people a mysterious feeling. Finally, the fusion was successful. It is indeed the Supreme Bone produced by the system. It blends perfectly with my body without any flaws, just like it comes with innate. Not long after, Lu Chen slowly opened his eyes, with a mysterious light flowing in his eyes. The fusion of this Supreme Bone is extremely perfect, as if Lu Chen was born with it. Originally, Lu Chen was still worried that this bone was not his own and might be a little abnormal. But now it seems that his worries are completely unnecessary. Lu Chen clenched his fist, and a surging sense of power flowed in Lu Chen's heart. Although the fusion of Supreme Bone did not improve Lu Chen's realm, Lu Chen's background was greatly enhanced by the fusion of Supreme Bone. In particular, the strength has increased more than 10 times, and the spiritual strength, spiritual consciousness, and soul power have all been greatly improved to varying degrees. Lu Chen was originally the holy son of the absolute beginning Holy Land, with amazing talents and the ability to cross 3 realms and defeat enemies. In other words, relying on his own natural strength and means, Lu Chen of the 5th layer of creation can defeat the late-stage overhaul of the 8th layer of creation. Now, after integrating Supreme Bone, Lu Chen's foundation has been greatly enhanced again. Lu Chen felt that he could easily defeat the strongest person in the 9th layer heaven who was at the peak of the creation realm. Even a strong man in the Tao Palace realm, who is in the 8th realm under the saint, cannot be touched. There is also a top-notch divine ability magic, the God's Tribulation Light. Using this magic, you can definitely kill the powerful people in the Tao Palace realm. Lu Chen touched his chest, and a majestic Tao pattern emerged from Lu Chen's chest. This pattern seems to stir the power of heaven and earth, carrying the power to destroy everything. Just its slight appearance made the surrounding space faintly fragmented. This power belongs to the Supreme Bone's companion magic, the Tribulation Light of the Heaven, which can mobilize the power of heaven and earth, triggering the Tribulation Light containing super destructive power, and has extremely strong destructive power. System, check the personal panel. Lu Chen then thought silently in his heart. When integrating Supreme Bone, Lu Chen studied his system and found that in addition to triggering selections, it also had the function of an attribute panel. As Lu Chen thought silently, a virtual panel that only Lu Chen could see appeared in front of Lu Chen. Host, Lu Chen. Identity, Absolute Beginning, Holy Land, Holy Sun. Realm, Creation Realm, 5th Layer, Heaven. Physique, Star Body, Supreme Bone. Talent, Holy Product. Exercise, 9 Yuan Star Technique, Holy Grade. Martial Arts, Condensing Star Sword Technique, Heavenly Grade, Shapeshifting, Earth Grade, Thunder Fist, Earth Grade. Divine Ability, God's Tribulation Light. Magic Weapon, Qinghong Sword, Heavenly Grade, Tianyao Xuanjia, Earth Grade. Looking at his own panel, Chase Lu felt satisfied. Lu Chen, as the Holy Son of the Absolute Beginning Holy Land, is naturally an extremely talented person with a powerful star body. The star body is quite mysterious. Although it is a spiritual body, it can absorb the power of stars to practice and slightly increase the speed of practice. Moreover, when fighting, you can also use the power of stars to fight, which has a very powerful effect. 9 Yuan Star Ju is a holy level technique from the Absolute Beginning Holy Land. It is extremely powerful and perfectly fits Lu Chen's star body. Lu Chen's star Dao body is a saint's talent. The levels of cultivation talents are divided into low grade, middle grade, high grade, heavenly grade, holy grade, emperor grade. Saint grade talents are already considered very powerful. As long as they do not fall, they all started as saints, and there is a high probability of impacting the world of great saints and even the supreme realm. After integrating Supreme Bone, although Lu Chen's cultivation talent has not reached emperor grade, it has improved a lot and is considered to be very top among the holy grades. Moreover, Supreme Bone is the power of Supreme, and it will also be of great benefit to Lu Chen in the future when he enters the realm of Supreme. The fusion of Supreme Bone this time was a huge transformation for Lu Chen, making Lu Chen, who was originally a top genius, completely become a super genius. Such top-level super geniuses are quite rare, not to mention in the eastern region, even in the central region where the cultivation civilization is more brilliant. It can be said that after integrating Supreme Bone, Lu Chen already has the capital to reach the pinnacle of the divine world. Now that he has a combat power comparable to that of the Taoist Palace, perhaps we can grab Yi Bufan's opportunity at Silver Sword Peak in advance. That opportunity is quite important. After checking his panel, Chase Lu touched his chin, with a hint of emotion in his eyes. As the protagonist of Destiny, Yi Bufan naturally has all kinds of chance treasures wherever he goes. Even at the Absolute Beginning Holy Land, it was no exception. Yi Bufan, who was just an inner disciple, got a top-notch opportunity at the Absolute Beginning Holy Land. What no one had ever obtained before was taken away by Yi Bufan after Yi Bufan appeared. The halo of the protagonist is simply unreasonable. However, now that Lu Chen knows about those opportunities, he will naturally not let Yi Bufan take them away. Before that, I still have to wash up. Absorbing the Supreme Bone has helped me shed a lot of impurities. Then, Lu Chen restrained his aura, left the room of Saint Child Peak, and went to the spiritual spring of Saint Child Peak. Many spiritual plants are planted in the spiritual spring of Shengji Peak, exuding rich fragrance and spiritual power. There is also a top-level spirit gathering array that gathers the surrounding spiritual energy. Due to the existence of many spiritual plants and spiritual gathering arrays, this spiritual spring is also equivalent to a top spiritual place for cultivation, which is of great benefit to cultivation. Lu Chen entered the spiritual spring, and the surrounding spiritual energy poured into Lu Chen's body crazily, and the spiritual veins of creation in his body seemed to be condensing rapidly. With the fusion of Supreme Bone, my talent level has indeed improved a lot, and my training speed has increased by at least 5 times. In this way, I can improve my strength faster. Seeing the spiritual power of heaven and earth surging around him, Lu Chen felt satisfied in his heart. Your Highness the Holy Sun, my servant Yinger has something to report, and it's about Yi Bufan. At this time, a clear and pleasant voice sounded. Outside the Lingquan, a beautiful woman with delicate features and graceful figure slowly walked towards Lu Chen, her eyes full of softness. The woman was wearing a long black dress with a hot figure, especially the curvature in the front, which made her have the faint urge to break out of her clothes. This woman in black skirt is Lu Chen's maid Yinger and also Lu Chen's confidant. She helps Lu Chen deal with many matters at St. Child Peak. Lu Chen raised his eyebrows and asked, "Tell me, what happened to that guy Yi Bufan?" His Royal Highness the Holy Sun, Yi Bufan and Yi Lingxi went to the Holy Maiden Peak yesterday and met with His Highness the Holy Maiden. The Holy Maiden Peak has strong restrictions and it is difficult for us to explore the Holy Maiden Peak. I don't know what they talked about. Yinger knelt respectfully next to Lingquan and reported what happened to Yi Bufan. Has that guy Yi Bufan gone to see Zhang Yuchen? Lu Chen touched his chin, with a faint light shining in his eyes. Zhang Yuchen is one of the destined heroines in this book. She is not only the saint of the absolute beginning Holy Land, but also the princess of the Zhang family's emperor clan. Her status, talent and background are both extremely powerful. Of course, such noble fairies with profound backgrounds will naturally be part of Yi Bufan's harem in the future. In the original work, after Yi Bufan left the law enforcement hall, he met Zhang Yuchen under the recommendation of Yi Lingxi. However, there is actually nothing substantive about the meeting between the two parties. However, Yi Bufan relied on his strong mental power to discover Zhang Yuchen's Dao injury, and threatened to find a way to cure Zhang Yuchen's Dao injury, which aroused Zhang Yuchen's curiosity. Zhang Yuchen's background is incredible. If Yi Bufan slowly gains Zhang Yuchen's favor like in the original work, it will undoubtedly be of great help to Yi Bufan. In this case, we must take away the opportunity of Silver Sword Peak as soon as possible. Chase Lu secretly thought, he already had a plan in mind. The opportunity at Silver Sword Peak was of great help to Zhang Yuchen's treatment of Dao injuries. Lu Chen didn't want to leave that opportunity to Yi Bufan. Chase Lu suddenly had a plan in his mind. Deep in the absolute beginning Holy Land, on a deserted mountain peak. There are bare patches everywhere on the mountain peaks, and in many areas you can see some broken roots and debris, as well as some fragments that exude a dilapidated atmosphere. Around the mountain peaks, you can still faintly feel some extremely cold and chilling sword intent. Although these sword intentions are weak, they seem to have the power to tear everything apart. With that powerful sword intent, even Lu Chen now felt a sense of rupture, and the skin of his body seemed to be torn apart. This is the Silver Sword Peak, which was once a prosperous main peak in the absolute beginning Holy Land. The master of the Silver Sword Peak, Tai Sword Master, is a top sword master in the Great Sage realm and is extremely powerful. Relying on the extremely powerful Tai sword intent, he defeated the pinnacle of the Emperor realm with the power of a great sage. He became famous in one battle and became a swordsman myth in the minds of countless swordsmen. However, since the death of Tai Sword Saint, Silver Sword Peak has never had an outstanding inheritor, and finally slowly declined, becoming what it is now. However, the Tai sword intent left by the Tai sword master remains here, and it is still very powerful even after tens of thousands of years. Therefore, this Silver Sword Peak is also equivalent to a holy land for cultivation. Many disciples of the absolute beginning Holy Land are refining their bodies or practicing with the help of the remaining sword intent of Silver Sword Peak. There are also many monks who are trying to understand Tai sword intention from this remaining sword intention and improve their swordsmanship strength. I have met His Royal Highness the Holy Sun. Some monks saluted respectfully after seeing Lu Chen. Lu Chen nodded slightly in response and continued walking slowly towards the inside of Silver Sword Peak. The closer you get to the inside of Silver Sword Peak, the more terrifying the sword intent is, and there is a faint sound of shattering in the surrounding space. The spiritual power in Lu Chen's body was constantly boiling under the impact of the terrifying Tai sword intent around him. There were still strands of golden divine light in his body, which was constantly merging with Lu Chen's body. The sixth spiritual vein of creation seems to be slowly condensing under the continuous boiling of spiritual power. Sure enough, after integrating Supreme Bone, a large amount of spiritual energy remained. After being stimulated by Tai sword intent, it was slowly stimulated. Feeling the fusion of golden divine light in his body, Lu Chen felt satisfied. These golden divine lights are the spiritual essence after being fused with the supreme bone. After being stimulated by Taiyi's sword intent, they slowly improved Lu Chen's cultivation. Boom! After a while, a terrifying roar appeared in Lu Chen's body, and the sixth spiritual vein of creation was completely formed. This means that Lu Chen's realm has broken through the sixth layer of creation. Moreover, this spiritual essence is still slowly integrating, helping Lu Chen condense the seventh spiritual vein of creation. After a while, under Lu Chen's slow footsteps, Lu Chen entered the inner peak of Silver Sword Peak. His Royal Highness the Holy Sun is so strong that he can actually enter the inner peak of Silver Sword Peak. Naifeng's sword intent can kill Taoist monks instantly, and His Highness the Holy Sun can withstand it. As expected of His Royal Highness the Holy Sun, His Royal Highness the Holy Sun has not yet broken through to the Tao Palace realm, but he can actually enter the inner peak. Silver Sword Peak is divided into outer, inner, and deep areas, and the sword intent in the three areas also increases geometrically. Most of the disciples of the Absolute Beginning Holy Land practice on the outside, and it is difficult to enter the inner peak. Only a small number of elders can withstand the sword intent of the inner peak and practice inside. As for the depths of Silver Sword Peak, Taiyi's sword intent was so powerful that even the top saints could not withstand it. Therefore, since the death of Taiyi's sword master, no one has entered the depths of Silver Sword Peak. Some of the elders who were practicing at the inner peak had strange expressions on their faces after seeing Lu Chen enter the inner peak, with admiration in their eyes. After entering the inner peak, Lu Chen's spiritual integration speed became more terrifying and exaggerated. Not long after, the seventh spiritual vein of creation was completely formed, and Lu Chen broke through the seventh layer of creation. That's right. In a short period of time, I broke through the realm and broke through the seventh layer of creation. This Silver Sword Peak is really a good place. Seeing his continuous breakthroughs in cultivation, Lu Chen was filled with joy and continued walking towards the Silver Sword Peak. His target was the depths of the Silver Sword Peak. His Royal Highness the Holy Sun is still moving forward. Could it be that His Highness the Holy Sun wants to enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak? No way, the Taiyi sword intention has reached its extreme depth in Silver Sword Peak, and even the top saints cannot enter it. Although His Highness the Holy Sun is powerful, his realm is too low. I don't think it's possible either. Maybe His Royal Highness the Holy Sun just wants to get closer to the depths, where the sword will be more powerful and convenient for him to practice. Many monks and elders at Silver Sword Peak saw that Lu Chen did not stop after entering the inner peak, but continued to walk deeper. They all lamented the terrifying strength of Lu Chen. Many disciples also speculated whether Lu Chen was going to enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak. That's Lu Chen. That guy also came to Yinjian Peak to practice. On the outskirts of Silver Sword Peak, a young man with a delicate face and perseverance in his brows looked straight at Lu Chen, who was walking slowly forward at the inner peak, his face changing slightly. Next to Yi Bufan, dressed in a purple dress, the pure and charming Yi Lingxi was also baptized by Taiyi's sword intent, quenching her body. Yi Lingxi opened her eyes and looked at Lu Chen at the inner peak, her eyes full of complexity. He is still moving forward. Is it possible that he wants to enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak? Yi Bufan looked at Lu Chen, who didn't stop at all. His face became uncertain, and his eyes were full of disbelief. Not long ago, when Yi Bufan was selecting Kung Fu and martial arts in the Tibetan Scripture Pavilion, he discovered some records about Silver Sword Peak and the secrets of Silver Sword Peak. He knew that the depths of Silver Sword Peak most likely contained the inheritance of Taiyi Sword Master. Also, deep in the Silver Sword Peak, there is a top-notch divine ability. This divine ability is effective in curing Zhang Yuchen's Dao injuries. The reason why Yi Bufan comes to Silver Sword Peak to practice now is because he wants to adapt to the violent Taiyi sword intent here and enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak as soon as possible. Get that top-notch divine ability so that you can get in touch with Zhang Yuchen, solve Zhang Yuchen's hidden injuries, and capture Zhang Yuchen's heart. Now seeing Lu Chen approaching the depths of Silver Sword Peak, how could he not make Yi Bufan angry? No, that's my thing. No matter whether Lu Chen wants to enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak or not, I can't just watch. Seeing Lu Chen getting closer and closer to the depths of Silver Sword Peak, Yi Bufan finally couldn't sit still anymore and quickly unleashed his power and galloped towards the inner peak of Silver Sword Peak. Brother, Nifeng is very dangerous, don't go. Yi Lingxi looked at Yi Bufan, who suddenly rushed towards the inner peak. Her face changed drastically, and she quickly stopped him, but Yi Bufan's figure had already disappeared from Yi Lingxi's eyes. The Tai sword intent at the inner peak of Silver Sword Peak is so powerful that it cannot be endured without the strength of the Dao Palace realm. Although Yi Bufan possesses the ancient holy body and has broken 3 shackles of heaven and earth, he has only just broken through the life and death realm, and it is impossible to withstand the violent Tai sword intent. Thinking like this, Yi Lingxi gritted her teeth and galloped towards the inner peak of Silver Sword Peak. No matter what, she couldn't help but watch her brother put himself in danger and enter such a dangerous place. At the junction between the inner and outer peaks of Silver Sword Peak, many absolute beginning Holy Land disciples were watching Lu Chen's progress at the junction. They were all curious whether Lu Chen really wanted to enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak. At this time, a brilliant golden light flashed, and a Taoist figure quickly crossed the border and entered the inner peak with lightning speed. Who is that? Someone has entered the inner peak again. A disciple discovered the figure and quickly exclaimed. It's Yi Bufan, the ancient holy body. That guy can actually enter the inner peak. No way, the ancient holy body is so powerful. Didn't he break through the life and death realm not long ago? How could he withstand the Tai sword intent of the inner peak? Is this ancient holy body really so powerful? It just broke 3 shackles of heaven and earth and has such terrifying potential. Someone has already recognized that the figure who entered the inner peak is their inner disciple Yi Bufan from the absolute beginning Holy Land. They did not expect that Yi Bufan, a guy who had just joined the life and death realm in the absolute beginning Holy Land, could actually enter the inner peak of Silver Sword Peak. At this time, at the inner peak of Silver Sword Peak, Yi Bufan, who was glowing with golden light, had a twisted look on his face. The Tai sword intent flowing crazily around him was like a spiritual energy tide, impacting Yi Bufan's body crazily. Yi Bufan's body has extremely rich golden divine light. The golden divine light forms a battle armor on the surface of Yi Bufan's body, protecting Yi Bufan's body. However, Nifeng's Tai sword intent was too powerful. Even with the golden divine light protecting his body, Yi Bufan still felt a strong sense of oppression. Blood marks slowly appeared on Yi Bufan's skin, and blood seemed to be slowly seeping out. This sword intention is really powerful. Even if I make continuous breakthroughs and reach the 7th layer of creation, I still can't bear it. Lu Chen, who was only a few feet away from the deep area of Silver Sword Peak, looked at the Tai sword intent in front of him, which was almost solidified, and said slowly. Although the sword intention was very powerful, Lu Chen did not stop, but continued to walk forward. As Lu Chen approached, the sword intent in front became more powerful. Lu Chen vaguely seemed to see a picture. In the picture, a sword intention carried infinite power, tearing the sky, and countless emperors' blood fell from the sky. Lu Chen stopped and was suppressed by the majestic sword intent in front of him. He felt that if he moved forward, he would die in the majestic sword intent. This feeling is extremely profound and firmly rooted in Lu Chen's soul. A death threat. Unfortunately, I already know the secret here. Lu Chen slowly opened his eyes, without the slightest hint of fear. He knew that this threat of death was the test left by Tai Sword Master. He must have the courage to not fear death in order to enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak and obtain the inheritance of Tai Sword Master. The sword intent here will only arouse fear in the heart and will not cause harm to the monks. Then, Lu Chen continued to walk forward, and was about to approach the depths of Silver Sword Peak. Lu Chen, stop here, you can't go into the depths of Silver Sword Peak. After Yi Bufan entered the inner peak, he saw Yi Fan who was about to step into the depths and shouted quickly, his eyes filled with scarlet color. Yi Bufan also knew that the sword intention of this Silver Sword Peak would not hurt people through the records he found in the Sutra Pavilion. He originally planned to wait until he had the strength to enter the Dao Palace realm. However, now Lu Chen actually wants to enter first. In Yi Bufan's view, it is simply robbing him of his opportunity. How can Yi Bufan endure it? Ding! The host is entering the depths of Silver Sword Peak, triggering Yi Bufan's anger and triggering the God-level choice. Closing square bracket. Option 1. Listen to Yi Bufin's words, leave Silver Sword Peak and not enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak, and reward Yi Bufin's favorability +10. Closing square bracket. Option 2. Go back and beat Yi Bufin violently to rectify the majesty of the Holy Son of Absolute Beginning and reward you with an ancient spirit beast egg 1. Choice 3. Ignore Yi Bufin's words, enter Silver Sword Peak, and be rewarded with incredible understanding 1. Closing square bracket. At this moment, the cold mechanical sound of the system sounded in Lu Chen's mind. Lu Chen's footsteps paused, and he triggered the choice again. Yi Bufin's favorability, the ancient spirit beast egg, and his understanding are incredible. I must go back and beat Yi Bufin violently before entering Silver Sword Peak. I want them all, the ancient spirit beast egg and the heaven-defying understanding. Lu Chen took a deep breath, then slowly turned around and walked slowly towards Yi Bufin's location. It's fine if you don't get in. Not far away, Yi Bufin saw that Lu Chen had not entered the depths of Silver Sword Peak again, and he felt relieved. The opportunities deep in Silver Sword Peak were very important to Yi Bufin. For the sake of your sense, when I reach the peak of the ultimate Tao in the future, I will give you a good time. Yi Bufin murmured in his heart. Although Lu Chen stopped going deep, which made Yi Bufin feel relieved, Yi Bufin still had a deep hatred for Lu Chen. However, at this time, Lu Chen, who was not far away, suddenly flashed and appeared in front of Yi Bufin. What do you want to do? Seeing Lu Chen in front of him with a cold expression and exuding a majestic aura, Yi Bufin's heart skipped a beat and he felt the hair on his hair stand on end. Who are you? How dare you teach me how to do things? It has nothing to do with you whether this holy sun enters the depths of Silver Sword Peak. Lu Chen's voice sounded in Yi Bufin's ears like the power of heaven, making Yi Bufin's heart tremble. Boom. Then, Lu Chen waved his fist, carrying extremely powerful power, and bombarded Yi Bufin. Bang! Lu Chen's fist hit Yi Bufin's body easily, and the golden light on the surface of his body was instantly defeated and turned into aura fragments. Yi Bufin's body was also quickly knocked away by the huge force and hit a withered tree in the distance. You, Lu Chen, you go too far. Yi Bufin vomited blood and his face became extremely ugly. He did not expect that Lu Chen would suddenly get up and attack him. It's too much to bully, so what? Who told you to stop me from entering the depths of Silver Sword Peak? Lu Chen sneered, and then rushed out quickly again, showing his extremely powerful strength and bombarding Yi Bufin with all his strength. Soon, under Lu Chen's fierce impact, Yi Bufin became bruised and swollen, and was in a miserable state. Yi Bufin wanted to resist, but the strength of the two sides was not at the same level at all, so he could only be beaten severely by Lu Chen. Stop fighting, Your Highness the Holy Sun, please, stop fighting, please let my brother go. Not long after, the pure and charming Yi Lingxi, dressed in a purple dress, entered the inner peak. Looking at Yi Bufin who was being beaten crazily, her face was full of worry and she said pitifully. Is that little girl Yi Lingxi here too? Lu Chen raised his eyebrows, and a hint of emotion flashed in his eyes. Immediately, Lu Chen sent a message to Yi Lingxi, you can let your brother go if you want. Come and practice with me again tonight. Hearing Lu Chen's message, Yi Lingxi's heart felt cold. I promise you, don't fight, don't hit my extraordinary brother. Seeing Yi Bufin being beaten violently, Yi Lingxi only hesitated for a moment before agreeing to Lu Chen's request. So what if she suffered this injustice for the sake of her brother? Remember your identity. Next time you bark in front of me, I won't let you go so easily. After Yi Lingxi agreed to Lu Chen's request, Lu Chen kicked Yi Bufin away hard and said calmly. After saying that, without even looking at Yi Bufin, he turned around and galloped towards the depths of Silver Sword Peak. Ah. Percent. And percent at how dare you humiliate me like this? Yi Bufin, who had regained his composure slightly, saw himself in this state, filled with grief and anger, and was so angry that he couldn't speak coherently. As a son of fate and possessing an ancient holy body, when had he ever been insulted like this? After Lu Chen left, Yi Lingxi quickly took out the healing elixir and treated Yi Bufin. Yi Bufin really doesn't have a long memory. If he fights well, I would already dislike him. That's right, he still dares to teach His Highness the Holy Sun to do things. It's simply ridiculous. What is his identity? He should be glad that he is a disciple of the absolute beginning Holy Land, otherwise, His Highness the Holy Sun would have beaten him to death. When the many absolute beginning Holy Land disciples around saw Yi Bufan's appearance, they quickly said without any pity, Yi Bufan has been very arrogant since he joined the absolute beginning Holy Land. His words are full of contempt for other disciples, which has long aroused the dissatisfaction of many disciples. However, because it was the ancient holy body that broke the shackles of heaven and earth, many disciples were still quite afraid and did not dare to offend him too much. Lu Chen, if I become heavenly emperor in the future, I will. Hearing the many discussions around him, Yi Bufan's eyes were scarlet and his voice was hoarse. Crack. Before Yi Bufan finished speaking, a huge spiritual shadow palm appeared in front of him, giving Yi Bufan another big mouth. The huge impact caused Yi Bufan to faint instantly, unable to make any sound. Idiot, you want to be a heavenly emperor some other time. Who do you think you are, a heavenly emperor, bah? The beating just now was not enough, and you want to threaten His Royal Highness the Holy Sun. A dark shadow slowly emerged in front, and Shu Fu's figure appeared in front of Yi Bufan, saying calmly, brother, you. Not far away, Yiling Shi looked at Yi Bufan, who was slapped again. She bit her red lips and sighed softly in her heart. In the end, she didn't say anything, but silently walked towards Yi Bufan, who was beaten like a dead dog. Extraordinary. His Royal Highness the Holy Sun has entered the depths of Silver Sword Peak. Oh my god, His Royal Highness the Holy Sun is so terrifying. After the death of Tai Sword Saint, no one has entered the depths of Silver Sword Peak. Now His Highness the Holy Sun has entered the depths. How terrifying is His Royal Highness the Holy Sun. Not even our Holy Lord can step into it. Many of the surrounding absolute beginning Holy Land disciples ignored Yi Bufan, who was slapped hard again, but looked at the junction of the depths of Silver Sword Peak in the inner peak. At this time, Lu Chen had already stepped into the depths of Silver Sword Peak. The entire Silver Sword Peak's Tai Sword intent was constantly rioting, exuding a majestic aura. All the disciples and elders saw Lu Chen entering the depths of Silver Sword Peak, with disbelief on their faces. Especially the elders of the absolute beginning Holy Land, they have all tried to enter it. However, the extremely powerful Tai sword intention was like a divine sword lying over their heads, giving them endless fear and making it difficult to enter it. Now, Lu Chen unexpectedly entered Silver Sword Peak. How could he not shock many elders? Come in, is this the depths of Silver Sword Peak? Deep in the Silver Sword Peak, Lu Chen slowly opened his eyes, surrounded by the extremely rich spiritual power of heaven and earth. The originally violent Tai sword intention became extremely soft in this deep area. Ding! Congratulations to the host for completing the choice and obtaining heaven-defying comprehension. Do you want to fuse it now? Closing square bracket. At this moment, the system prompt sounded again in Qin Tian's mind. In Lu Chen's system space, in addition to the ancient spirit beast egg that was just rewarded by beating Yi Bufan, a magical 7-color light group appeared. This 7-color light group seems to contain the great principle and exudes incomparable mysterious power. System, fusion heaven-defying comprehension. Lu Chen then thought to himself, this powerful understanding will naturally be integrated immediately. Following Lu Chen's thoughts, the 7-color light group in the system space quickly rushed into Lu Chen's mind. Lu Chen only felt as if his brain was being nourished. It was constantly transforming and evolving. Countless inspirations and the great Tao divine sound were flowing crazily in his mind. After a while, Lu Chen's soul power strengthened a lot, and his brain became extremely clear. Many divine abilities that were not fully understood were easily understood by Lu Chen at this moment. Lu Chen slowly opened his eyes, and there were golden divine patterns flowing in his eyes. Lu Chen looked around, as if he could detect the trajectory of all things in the order of heaven and earth. The constantly flowing Tai sword intent no longer had any secrets in front of Lu Chen. The understanding is so powerful that it defies nature. Lu Chen murmured in a low voice while looking at the Tai sword intent composed of spiritual machines around him. Lu Chen felt that if he wanted to, he would be able to comprehend Tai sword intent in just 2 hours, or even less. Then give it a try. To obtain the inheritance of Tai sword master, you still need to understand Tai sword intent. Lu Chen then carefully observed the Tai sword intent around him, and with the help of these soft Tai sword intentions, he understood the true meaning of Tai sword intent. Time passed slowly, and soon, a quarter of an hour passed, and extremely sharp Tai sword intent appeared around Lu Chen. The soft Tai sword intent around him immediately surged towards Lu Chen's body because of the Tai sword intent that appeared around Lu Chen. Lu Chen seemed to have become the master of Silver Sword Peak, and the Tai sword intent around him was completely controlled by him. I still underestimated the power of my understanding. I understood the Tai sword intent in just a quarter of an hour. It's simply terrifying. Seeing the surrendered Tai sword intent around him, Lu Chen felt satisfied in his heart. Tai sword intention is an extremely domineering sword intention, containing the ultimate killing power. It can easily cut mountains and seas, and defeat enemies in adverse circumstances. Ordinary sword cultivators, even those with extraordinary talents, need a lot of time to understand. Originally, Lu Chen thought that even with such a powerful understanding, it would take 2 hours to comprehend the sword's meaning. Now, he realized it in just a quarter of an hour, which was beyond Lu Chen's expectations. Obviously, this understanding is extremely powerful. Now that I have mastered Tai sword intention, I will not be polite to the inheritance left by Tai sword master. Lu Chen then put away his Tai sword intent and walked forward. After mastering Tai sword intent, the depths of the entire Silver Sword Peak no longer pose any threat to Lu Chen. While Lu Chen was strolling around the courtyard, he reached the top of Silver Sword Peak. At the top of Silver Sword Peak, the surrounding vegetation and buildings have already become extremely desolate due to the erosion of time and the ravages of the tyrannical Tai sword intent. On the top of the mountain, an ancient and vicissitudes of sword monument stands on the top of the mountain like an eternal divine object. There are also extremely mysterious inscriptions on the sword steel, which seem to contain extremely cold words. Lu Chen silently walked towards the sword monument in front of him, and activated the Tai sword intent that he had comprehended, and surged into the sword monument in front of him. The inheritance of Tai sword master is in this sword monument, but it requires Tai sword intent to open it. Boom. After Lu Chen's Tai sword intent surged past, the sword monument in front emitted a terrifying roar. 2 splendid spiritual lights flashed and flew straight towards Lu Chen's body. Lu Chen did not dodge and allowed this spiritual light to enter his mind. He knew that this aura was the inheritance of Tai sword master. As the spiritual light entered, a top martial art belonging to the Tai sword master appeared in Lu Chen's mind, Tai sword art. Tai sword master is worthy of being an invincible sword master who can defeat the quasi-emperor at the level of a great sage. He actually created such a top-notch swordsmanship. After a while, Lu Chen felt the power of this Tai sword technique. The level of this Tai sword technique had already reached the emperor level. Although it was only the emperor level low grade, it had extraordinary potential and super power. Strong destructive power. In addition to Tai sword technique, there are many other sword techniques in the aura, but their level and potential are not as good as Tai sword technique. There is also a great divine ability of the Phoenix clan, Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. At the same time, under the powerful effect of Lu Chen's understanding, another spiritual light was also completely absorbed by Lu Chen. It turns out that what this aura contains is the great divine ability belonging to the Phoenix clan, Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. Phoenix Nirvana Sutra belongs to the ultimate Nirvana divine ability. It has a heaven-defying healing effect. It has an extremely strong effect even on the wounds of the original Great Tao. And after practicing this Phoenix Nirvana Sutra to the ultimate level, you can master the power of Nirvana, which is the core power of the Phoenix clan, can reverse life and death, and is extremely powerful. The harvest is good, it's worth wasting so much time. Looking at the Tai sword art and Phoenix Nirvana Sutra in his mind, Lu Chen felt satisfied. There is another secret. Under the sword monument is Tai sword master's natal spiritual sword, the 7-star Dragon Abyss sword. Lu Chen then looked at the sword monument in front of him. In the original work, the protagonist Yi Bufan accidentally destroyed the sword monument at Silver Sword Peak after receiving the inheritance from Tai sword master, and thus obtained the 7-star Longyuan sword under the sword monument. Shua. Then, without any hesitation, Lu Chen activated the Tai sword intent around him and attacked the sword monument in front of him with great speed. As Taiyi's sword power continued to shine, the ancient sword monument was instantly destroyed. Boom! After the sword monument was destroyed, a brilliant light rose into the sky. Immediately afterwards, an ancient divine sword with sharp edges and brilliant aura flew out from under the sword monument. This divine sword has extremely mysterious Tao patterns on it, and it seems to be able to absorb the power of the stars between heaven and earth. After this divine sword appeared, the entire silver sword peak was trembling continuously, as if it could not withstand the terrifying pressure of this 7-star Longyuan sword. Lu Chen's body jumped up high, flew into the sky, and held the 7-star Longyuan sword in the sky in his hand. Because he had already comprehended the Taiyi sword intention, the 7-star Longyuan sword was easily controlled by Lu Chen. Lu Chen continuously injected his soul power and put his own soul mark on this 7-star Longyuan sword. Quasi-Emperor weapon. This 7-star Longyuan sword has transformed into a quasi-Emperor weapon. After completely controlling the 7-star Longyuan sword, Lu Chen's eyes lit up and his face was full of joy. This 7-star Longyuan sword was originally only for the great sage Taoist soldier, but this divine sword was made of top-grade star Taoist gold and the blood of the Dragon clan, and can absorb the power of the stars. Under the sword monument at Silver Sword Peak, after absorbing the power of the stars for a long time, he has already broken through the limit of the great sage Tao weapon and reached the level of quasi-emperor weapon. Yes, with the accurate Emperor weapon 7-star Longyuan sword, and the mastery of Taiyi sword intent, I am invincible under the Saint Realm. Feeling the terrifying power contained in the 7-star Longyuan sword in his hand, Lu Chen felt heroic in his heart. With the extremely powerful quasi-emperor weapon, coupled with his supreme bone, star Tao body, and powerful Taiyi sword intention, Lu Chen is confident to kill and defeat all the strong men below the saints. Now that Yi Bufan's opportunities have been taken away, it's time to go back. You can practice both Taiyi sword art and Phoenix Nirvana Sutra to better improve your strength. There is also the little girl Yi Lingxi from the Taiyan body, who promised to come back to spend the night with me tonight and assist me in my practice. Don't waste this hard-won opportunity to practice. Thoughts flashed through Lu Chen's mind. Then, Lu Chen put away the 7-star Longyuan sword and left Silver Sword Peak. This Lu Chen has great potential. It seems that our absolute beginning Holy Land will have another super genius who is expected to enter the Starry Sky Ancient Road and the Imperial Road to compete for supremacy. Above the clouds high in the absolute beginning Holy Land, a middle-aged man with a majestic temperament wearing a dark robe looked at Lu Chen who was leaving, his face full of admiration. The middle-aged man is the leader of Absolute Beginning Holy Land, Absolute Beginning Holy Lord Li Daohong. Senior Brother Head, you are overestimating Lu Chen. He is just lucky enough to have inherited the inheritance of Taiyi Sword Master. He is still far from being able to enter the Starry Sky Ancient Road and compete with those perverts on the Imperial Road. Woolen cloth. As soon as Li Daohong's words came out, a stunning woman wearing a red palace skirt with a hot figure and a charming figure frowned slightly, and she didn't seem to be optimistic about Lu Chen. Elder Yu Ning, Lu Chen is the holy son of our absolute beginning Holy Land. His talent and potential are unparalleled, and he has the fearless courage to dare to break into the depths of Silver Sword Peak. Such strength, mind and potential are already quite powerful, and there will definitely be more in the future. Great chance to enter the Starry Sky Ancient Road. Yes, Elder Yu Ning, we have to believe Lu Chen. Since Lu Chen can obtain the inheritance of Taiyi Sword Master, it means that he is also a person of great luck. Why can't he enter the ancient road of the Starry Sky? We have to give Lu Chen some time. Although there is a gap between Lu Chen's talent and those super geniuses, talent is not absolute. As soon as Elder Qin Yuning's words came out, other top elders from the surrounding absolute beginning Holy Land retorted, obviously not agreeing with Qin Yuning's words. The terrifying sword intention at the junction of the depths of Silver Sword Peak and the inner peak has blocked many strong men. The meaning of death that seeps into the bone marrow simply makes people's souls tremble, and there is no intention to move forward at all. Now that Lu Chen has entered it, coupled with his identity as the Holy Son, he has been recognized by many elders. Junior Sister Yu Ning, do you think, besides Yu Chan, who else in our sect is qualified to enter the Starry Sky Ancient Road? The Holy Lord of Absolute Beginning, Li Daohong turned around and looked at Qin Yuning next to him calmly. Needless to say, of course it is Yi Bufan. He is the ancient holy body. The great accomplishment holy body can defeat the great emperor. In the past, the holy body alone shocked the ancient road in the starry sky. What a grace he was. In the future, Yi Bufan same goes. As soon as Li Daohong's words came out, Qin Yuning said immediately without thinking. Yi Bufan has only managed to break 3 shackles of heaven and earth. He was beaten up by Lu Chenbao just now and has no power to resist. If a guy like this wants to suppress the ancient road, tisk tisk tisk. An elder from the absolute beginning Holy Land said faintly next to him. Yi Bufan's ancient holy body is indeed powerful, but after all, it is suppressed by 10 shackles of heaven and earth, and there are still many elders who are not optimistic about him. That's realm suppression. Forget it, I won't tell you anymore. Just wait. You will know in the future that Yi Bufan is the hope of our absolute beginning Holy Land. When Qin Yuning heard the elder's words, his eyelids jumped and he said quickly. After saying that, Qin Yuning turned around and turned into a stream of light and left the clouds. Sigh. Junior sister Yu Ning's temper is still like this. Who told her she is from the Qin family? Forget it, let's not talk about her anymore. If junior sister Yu Ning finds out, she will be furious again. Seeing Qin Yuning leaving directly, the elder of the absolute beginning Holy Land next to him said quietly. The other elders also nodded. Qin Yuning is a member of the Emperor clan Qin family of the central region. He has a noble status and is not something that these elders of the absolute beginning Holy Land can easily offend. Therefore, Qin Yuning's position in the absolute beginning Holy Land is very unique. Although he is only an elder, even the headmaster Li Daohong does not dare to criticize him too harshly for fear of arousing the hatred of the Qin family. However, this is the first time that junior sister Yu Ning is so partial to a disciple. Do you think that Yi Bufan has anything to do with junior sister Yu Ning? At this time, an elder from the absolute beginning Holy Land suddenly said, with a look on his face. It has a profound color. That's enough, let's not discuss junior sister Yu Ning. Now that the Sword Intention blockade at Silver Sword Peak has been opened, you can also go to Silver Sword Peak to practice. The Tai Sword Intention deep in Silver Sword Peak will also be of great benefit to you. Just when the elder's words were about to trigger discussions among many elders, a cold and majestic voice sounded in the clouds. Yes, the headmaster is right, let's go to Yinjian Peak to practice. Seeing that the headmaster had spoken, the elders around him did not dare to have any opinions. They quickly flew to the depths of Silver Sword Peak one by one, preparing to enter the depths of Silver Sword Peak in practice with the help of the powerful Tai Sword Intent. Soon, only Li Daohong was left on the cloud. Li Daohong stood above the clouds, looking calmly at Qin Yuning as he left. His eyes seemed to be able to penetrate the clouds, and he easily saw that Qin Yuning went to the Tianji Peak, and looked at Yi Bufan who was beaten into a dead dog with a look of pity. Junior sister Yu Ning, the trajectory of fate has shifted. After a while, a slowly flowing black and white pattern appeared in Li Daohong's eyes, and he murmured in his heart. Absolute beginning Holy Land, Shengji Peak. In a beautiful mountain forest. Lu Chen held the Qinghong sword and used the Tai sword technique. Countless sword lights and sword intentions were constantly intertwined like fleeting glimpses. A sharp sword sound echoed throughout the forest. The violent Tai sword intent almost completely chopped into pieces the surrounding mountains, forests and peaks. Tai broke through the sky. After a while, Lu Chen used the divine ability in Tai sword technique, and quickly slashed towards the surrounding space. Stab. As a fierce sword light flashed by, the space in front was completely torn apart by the sword light released by Lu Chen, and countless spatial turbulence surged out from the torn space. The forest became constantly rioting, trembling slightly and wailing. It's strong, but it consumes too much spiritual energy. It can only be used as a trump card. It will kill with one hit. However, the power is also extremely strong. Under the saint, I am afraid no one can block this blow. Looking at the turbulent flow of space in front of him, Lu Chen, who was pale and exhausted, exhaled a breath of turbid air, and the Tai sword intent around him slowly returned to Lu Chen's body. After 2 hours of practice, Tai sword technique has been completely integrated and mastered by Lu Chen. The martial arts of the imperial level did not disappoint Lu Chen. The divine ability contained super destructive power, and combined with Tai sword intent, it had a murderous aura that destroyed everything. However, the consumption was too huge, and Lu Chen could not use his current strength freely. Lu Chen didn't pay too much attention to it. This was a top-level martial arts that had reached the imperial level. Lu Chen was quite satisfied that he could successfully practice it. As for the consumption problem, it will naturally be solved when the cultivation level is improved in the future. Your Highness the Holy Sun, the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal has been retrieved. At this time, a clear and sweet voice sounded in Lu Chen's ears. Wearing a long black skirt and a hot figure, Yinger galloped from the mountains and forests and said to Lu Chen respectfully. In Yinger's hand, there was also a huge fiery red spiritual crystal, exuding a majestic hot aura. Yes, I got it so quickly. When I finish practicing this divine ability, I will definitely reward you well. Lu Chen took the fiery red spiritual crystal from Yinger's hand, pinched Yinger's face, and smiled. Road. This fiery red spiritual crystal is the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal, which is one of the necessary spiritual objects used to practice the Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. Phoenix Nirvana Sutra has a total of 9th layer. Every time you complete the first layer, the treatment effect will be greatly improved. After practicing to the 9th layer, you will master the power of Nirvana and have the power to reverse life and death. After completing the enlightenment, Lu Chen immediately asked Yinger to find the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal necessary for 3rd layer before practicing Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. Unexpectedly, Yinger was found in just a few hours, which was beyond Lu Chen's expectations. Yes, thank you His Highness the Holy Sun. Hearing Lu Chen say that he wanted to reward himself, Yinger's face was flushed with shame, the huge arc in front of her trembled slightly, and her beautiful eyes were full of expectation and joy. Then, Yinger reported some more things about the absolute beginning Holy Land, and then left. After Yinger left, Lu Chen went to the spiritual land of Saint Child Peak, absorbed the violent spiritual power in the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal, and practiced the Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. Lu Chen now has heaven-defying comprehension and completed the Phoenix Nirvana Sutra as soon as he returned to Saint Child Peak. Therefore, this practice was extremely smooth and did not encounter any bottlenecks. In addition, after fusing Supreme Bone, Lu Chen's physical body has also been greatly improved, and the terrifying violent spiritual power in the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal was easily absorbed by Lu Chen. Half an hour later, Lu Chen successfully got started and practiced the first layer successfully. A fiery red spiritual core appeared in his dantian. This fiery red spiritual core is the symbol of achieving the first layer in Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. Lu Chen can drive the power in his spiritual core to restore his injuries and even his origins. Continue to practice and strive to complete the second layer. Lu Chen slowly opened his eyes and murmured in his heart. He could feel the power of the fiery red spiritual core in his body, and the healing effect contained in it was more terrifying than some earthly healing pills. This is only the first layer. If you complete the later ones, the effect will definitely be even more terrifying. Then, Lu Chen continued to absorb the power of the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal and practiced the second layer of Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. Well, why is the Spirit Beast Egg acting strangely? Just as Lu Chen was absorbing the power of the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal, Lu Chen felt that the ancient Spirit Beast Egg in his system space seemed to be trembling slightly. There are extremely ancient Dao patterns on the ancient Spirit Beast Eggs, which look very mysterious. Chase Lu raised his eyebrows, and then took out the ancient Spirit Beast Egg. After taking out the ancient Spirit Beast Egg, Lu Chen slowly released the violent flame spiritual power from the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal in his hand. It seems that the power of this Fire Phoenix Crystal helps the hatching of this ancient Spirit Beast Egg. Lu Chen's heart moved, and he immediately understood that this ancient Spirit Beast Egg could absorb the power of the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal to hatch. In that case, let this ancient Spirit Beast Egg absorb the power of the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal together with me. Lu Chen immediately had an idea to let the Spirit Beast Egg absorb the power of the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal with him to help it hatch as soon as possible. Then, Lu Chen continued to absorb the power of the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal to practice Phoenix Nirvana Sutra, and at the same time absorb the power of the Fire Phoenix Spirit Crystal into the Spirit Beast Egg. The spirit beast egg that had gained the power of the fire phoenix spirit crystal was indeed trembling more and more obviously, and the eggshell above seemed to be about to crack at any time. 2 hours later, Lu Chen successfully practiced the second layer of Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. In Lu Chen's body, there are two fiery red spiritual cores intertwined with each other, continuously releasing mysterious power. After cultivating to the second layer, the healing effect of Phoenix Nirvana Sutra has increased several times, and is already comparable to the effect of Heavenly Great Elixir. Crack. At the same time, the shell of the spirit beast egg in front of Lu Chen, which was absorbing the power of the fire phoenix spirit crystal, was completely shattered. As the eggshell shattered, a terrifying hot breath spurted out from the broken eggshell. The temperature in the spiritual space continued to rise, making Lu Chen feel a little suffocated. Then, a young ancient phoenix, releasing the sky-burning flames, flew out of the eggshell. After the young ancient phoenix flew out, it immediately flew to Lu Chen's shoulder and licked Lu Chen's cheek affectionately. This is a young ancient phoenix. This is actually a phoenix egg. Looking at the ancient phoenix releasing scorching flames on his shoulder, Lu Chen's eyes lit up. The ancient phoenix is the top monster race in the ancient times. It has an extremely powerful body, controls the sky-burning flames, and has super potential. The ancient phoenix was born with strength comparable to that of the saint of human race, and was extremely powerful. After becoming an adult, he can even compete with the human race supreme, a super mythical beast from ancient times. Nowadays, the Phoenix clan still exists in the divine desolate world, but those Phoenix clan are just ordinary Phoenix clan. Without the ancient bloodline, their potential is not at the same level as that of the ancient Phoenix clan. However, even so, the Phoenix clan, which no longer has ancient bloodline, is still the dominant monster race force in the divine desolate world, and is extremely powerful. Then, Lu Chen used various methods to test the strength of the ancient phoenix. Yes, the system is so powerful. It gave me the spirit beast egg of an ancient phoenix. When this phoenix grows up, it will be equivalent to having a supreme thug. Now it also has the strength of a saint. It is really amazing. Yi Bufan, you are really my lucky star. After the test was completed, Chase Lu felt satisfied. This ancient phoenix does have the strength of a saint, and its potential is very powerful. Since you are red, I will call you Zhao Hong from now on. Lu Chen then named Swire Phoenix Zhao Hong. Li. Because it was rewarded by the system, Zhao Hong had completely recognized Lu Chen as her master, and Zhao Hong complied with all of Lu Chen's requirements. After playing with it some more, Lu Chen asked Zhao Hong to find a place to practice on her own at St. Child Peak. He was ready to continue practicing Phoenix Nirvana Sutra. His Royal Highness the Holy Sun, I'm here. Just when Lu Chen was about to continue practicing, a crisp and sweet voice sounded in Lu Chen's ears. Lu Chen raised his head and looked towards the source of the sound. I saw a pure and charming girl with fair skin and exquisite facial features walking towards Lu Chen with a pale face. The girl is wearing a long white dress with a fairy air. The curve in front is shallow, like the tip of a lotus leaf, revealing an incomparable youthful atmosphere. The long and slender legs under the white skirt were wrapped in thin white socks, making them extremely delicate. Yi Lingxi, you are finally here. Seeing the pitiful and beautiful girl with a look of fear on her face, Lu Chen's eyes lit up. She is worthy of being one of the destined heroines. This pure and beautiful appearance is the white moonlight goddess in the minds of many absolute beginning Holy Land disciples. Lu Chen said calmly, since you are here, let's start practicing. Don't waste time. Yes, Your Highness the Holy Sun. Yi Lingxi bit her red lips and said. On the afternoon of the second day, Tianji Peak was in a simply decorated room. Lu Chen, I am the ancient holy body. Wait for my holy body, the great accomplishment, to rule over the heavens. I will not let you go. From time to time, a hoarse, urgent voice sounded in the room. There was a handsome, pale young man on the bed with his eyes closed tightly, sweating profusely, and mumbling words, as if he was having a terrible nightmare. No, don't. Lingxi, I'll come to save you right away. After a while, the young man roared and woke up from the bed, gasping for air and trembling slightly. Yi Bufan woke up and quickly looked around, and found a familiar figure not far away. He quickly wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and let out a soft breath. It turns out to be a nightmare. Fortunately it's a dream. Fortunately it's a dream. Just hope Lingxi is fine. Yi Bufan looked at his sister who was safe and sound in the room and murmured in a low voice. Brother, are you okay? Yi Lingxi noticed that after Yi Bufan woke up, she quickly came to Yi Bufan's side and asked. I'm fine, Lingxi, I'm sorry, I made you worry again. Looking at the haggard Yi Lingxi in front of him, eyes full of exhaustion, Yi Bufan felt distressed in his heart. The terrible scene in Yi Bufan's dream just seemed like a nightmare, resurrecting in Yi Bufan's heart. No, I will never let such a thing happen. Yi Bufan thought firmly in his heart. Yi Lingxi showed a somewhat forced smile, as long as my brother is fine. Lingxi, your neck and arms, did you go to practice in that mountain forest where mosquitoes are infested again? Yi Bufan noticed the strange marks on Yi Lingxi's neck and arms and asked. At this time, there were clear marks on Yi Lingxi's neck and arms, which were deeper than the last time. Yi Lingxi lowered her head slightly, not daring to look directly into Yi Bufan's eyes. Well, brother, I want to improve my strength as soon as possible. Yi Bufan saw the marks on his sister's body and felt a little irritated. Lingxi, there are so many mosquitoes in that place, so don't. Wait a minute, the power of life and death, your realm has broken through to the life and death realm. Just when Yi Bufan wanted to tell his sister not to go to that mountain forest to practice, Yi Bufan suddenly discovered that the power of life and death was escaping from Yi Lingxi's body. Obviously, Yi Lingxi has broken through to the life and death realm. Well, I broke through this morning. There was no happy look on Yi Lingxi's face, but a complicated look on her face. The one who broke through this morning, Lingxi, you are really amazing. In less than half a month, you broke through from the third layer of nirvana to the current life and death realm. Hearing that Yi Lingxi had really made a breakthrough, Yi Bufan said slowly, looking at Yi Lingxi with eyes full of pride. Even if he is an ancient holy body, he still has many opportunities. It took him 2 months to go from the third layer of nirvana to the current life and death realm. But Yi Lingxi only used it for half a month, which completely made Yi Bufan a little unbelievable. Yi Lingxi said nothing, feeling helpless and cold in her heart. She naturally knew that the reason why her cultivation level improved so quickly was related to Lu Chen. The Taiyan body is a top-level holy body for dual cultivation. If someone cooperates in the cultivation, the speed of cultivation will be even more amazing. While Lu Chen was cultivating with the help of her body, Yi Lingxi's cultivation level was also rising rapidly. This allowed her to achieve continuous breakthroughs in a short period of time and reach the current life and death realm. Lingxi, I shouldn't stop you. Since practicing in that mountain forest is beneficial to you, then go there and practice more. It's just a few mosquito bites. I believe you can overcome it. Yi Bufan took a deep breath, and then said firmly to his sister. Yi Lingxi's cultivation level can be improved rapidly, which makes Yi Bufan very happy. After all, she is his sister, the stronger the better. It was just some mosquito bites. In Yi Bufan's opinion, it was no bigger than a minor problem. Moreover, in the nightmare just now, the scene where his sister was, by Lu Chen still made Yi Bufan feel a little shadowy. As long as my sister keeps getting stronger, the scene in the dream will never appear. Yi Bufan thought in his heart. Yi Lingxi's face turned slightly rosy, and she felt endless fatigue in her heart. She finally said feebly, do you want to go there more to practice? I know. By the way, what happened next? Did that guy Lu Chen go into the depths of Silver Sword Peak? After a while, Yi Bufan seemed to have thought of something and asked nervously. After being slapped unconscious by Shadow Guard Shu Fu, he lost consciousness and had no idea what happened next. Holy! Lu Chen went into the depths of Silver Sword Peak and seemed to have obtained the inheritance of Tai Sword Saint. Because Lu Chen entered it, the terrifying sword intent in the depths has been resolved. Therefore, our disciples and elders in the Holy Land can enter the main peak of Silver Sword Peak to practice. The sect also rewarded Lu Chen with a lot of contribution points and treasures. Yi Lingxi then said slowly and told Yi Bufan what happened next. Because Lu Chen entered the deep main peak of Silver Sword Peak and resolved the terrifying sword intent inside, it was of great benefit to many disciples. Lu Chen's reputation in the absolute beginning Holy Land has also greatly increased. More and more disciples admire Lu Chen. He went in, how dare he, and took away the inheritance of Tai Sword Master. Why, that should have been mine, Lu Chen. Hearing Yi Lingshi's words, Yi Bufan's head was buzzing, his body was trembling slightly, and he growled. Yi Bufan knew how important the opportunity was in the main peak of Silver Sword Peak. Let's not talk about Tai Sword Master's inheritance, there is most likely something in it that can cure Zhang Yuchen. That's why he desperately tried to prevent Lu Chen from entering, but unexpectedly, he still failed and was beaten violently by Chen Lu in vain. Brother is doing this again. Seeing her brother so angry, Yi Lingxi felt tired. My brother is always like this, always thinking that all good things belong to him, and he never considers the consequences of doing things. He has obviously suffered a lot, so why can't he practice honestly? On the other hand, Lu Chen, although he is also extremely domineering, but bah, how can I think Lu Chen is good? He is just a great demon, a demon. I will never like him in my life. Yi Lingshi's mind was spinning with thoughts, and she immediately suppressed the strange emotions in her heart. HMPH, it's just the inheritance of a Tai Sword Master. You are an ancient holy body. In the future, you will enter the starry sky ancient road and compete with many super genius emperors. What does it mean to be like this now? At this moment, a soft humming sound sounded in the room. A stunning woman wearing a red palace dress, with a hot figure and charming figure slowly walked into the room, looking calmly at Yi Bufan on the bed. Seeing the stunning woman who suddenly appeared, Yi Bufan was shocked. She could feel the terrifying aura on this woman's body, and the wisps of aura emanating from her body made the surrounding space seem to be slightly distorted. Yi Bufan turned pale and said tremblingly, Senior is. Brother, this is Elder Qin Yuning from our absolute beginning Holy Land. I was practicing last night, and it was Elder Qin who was taking care of my brother and treating his injuries. Yi Lingxi on the side obviously knew this stunning woman and quickly introduced her to Yi Bufan. Elder Qin Yuning. Many thanks to Elder Qin for saving his life. Yi Bufan's pupils shrank, his heart was full of shock, and he quickly expressed his gratitude. He had long heard that there was a guest elder named Qin Yuning in the Holy Land of Absolute Beginning. He was very beautiful, acted without taboos, and was arrogant and unreasonable. Although she is just an elder from Keqing, she seems to have such a powerful background that even the Holy Master of the Absolute Beginning Holy Land has to give her face. Yi Bufan didn't expect that Elder Qin would actually help him heal his injuries. It's just a piece of cake. I want to ask you, now that Lu Chen has received the inheritance of Tai Sword Master, his strength seems to have improved a lot, what are you going to do in the future? Qin Yuning didn't care about Yi Bufan's gratitude, but looked straight at Yi Bufan. Qin Yuning's gaze made Yi Bufan's back pierce, and his body seemed to be completely suppressed. Lu Chen bullied others too much, and he hurt me like this. No matter how strong he is, I will not succumb to him. In the future, I will definitely trample him under my feet and make him never stand up again. After pondering for a moment, Yi Bufan took a deep breath, then slowly spoke out his thoughts. As soon as Yi Bufan's words came out, Qin Yuning showed admiration and said, yes, not afraid of strength. This is the ancient holy body that I like. From now on in the absolute beginning Holy Land, I will protect you and show your strength to the fullest. Lu Chen has nothing to fear. As long as you don't make any principled mistakes, I can protect you. Hearing Qin Yuning's words, Yi Bufan felt excited and said quickly, yes, Elder Qin, I will definitely not let you down. Originally, he was afraid of Lu Chen's status as the Holy Son, fearing that he would use his status to suppress him, but now that Qin Yuning is on the platform, there is no need to worry. Just wait for me, Lu Chen, I will repay the humiliation you gave me 100 times in the future. Qin Yuning continued, since you are so ambitious, I am not a stingy person. You and Lingxi can come to my Zixia Peak to practice at any time in the future. Yes, thank you Elder Qin. Yi Bufan and Yi Lingxi both said respectfully. Zixia Peak is a powerful spiritual peak in the absolute beginning Holy Land. The spiritual power of heaven and earth and the cultivation environment inside are several times that of Tianji Peak. Although he was beaten violently, he was valued by Elder Qin and had a new turn in the absolute beginning Holy Land, Yi Bufan thought in his heart. He didn't know why Qin Yuning came to him, and Yi Bufan didn't care. As long as he could become stronger and suppress Lu Chen in the future, everything would be fine. Come on, I admire you very much. This is something given to you. Use it well. Qin Yuning then took out a jade bottle that contained the atmosphere of ancient desolation and vicissitudes, and handed it to Yi Bufan on the bed. After handing the things to Yi Bufan, Qin Yuning turned into a stream of light and disappeared from the room. Yi Bufan looked at the jade bottle left by Qin Yuning and felt that the blood in his body was boiling. There seemed to be something in the jade bottle that was stimulating the origin of his ancient holy body. Yi Bufan then opened the jade bottle, and immediately found a bottle of blood exuding a majestic aura. This is the essence and blood of the ancient holy body, and it is also the blood essence of the ancient holy body that broke the 10 shackles of heaven and earth. Looking at the blood, Yi Bufan immediately realized that this blood was the blood essence belonging to the ancient holy body. Yes, with the help of this essence and blood, I will definitely be able to break more shackles of heaven and earth again. Lu Chen is waiting for me. The day when I will suppress you is not far away. Yi Bufan licked his lips, then opened his mouth and swallowed the blood. Yi Lingxi's Taiyan body cultivation is even more powerful. In one night, my cultivation level broke through the first layer and reached the 8th layer of creation. In the spiritual land of Saint Child Peak, Lu Chen slowly opened his eyes. The spiritual veins of creation in his body had already condensed 8 ways, and the surging spiritual power was flowing crazily in Lu Chen's body. Boom! At this moment, clouds appeared in the originally clear sky. The majestic clouds instantly covered the top of the absolute beginning Holy Land, giving people an extremely powerful sense of oppression. Then, streaks of blue-purple thunder power shone. The terrifying blue-purple thunder is like a divine light that tears everything apart, venting its power. In the sky, there are ancient and mysterious shackles of heaven and earth, and countless great Tao inspirations are surging in the clouds. In the distance, there seems to be some force that is slowly tearing apart the ancient and mysterious shackles of heaven and earth. After a while, the 7 shackles of heaven and earth appeared completely. The 7 shackles of heaven and earth seemed to be blocking something terrible, and the terrifying aura almost threatened to overwhelm the world. Yinger was also attracted by the majestic inspiration, and then said, "Your Highness the Holy Sun, there is a strange movement on the Tianji peak." Lu Chen narrowed his eyes slightly and looked straight at the sky in the distance. That direction was indeed a strange movement on the Tianji peak side. It's that guy Yi Bufan. He's going to break the shackles of heaven and earth of the ancient holy body. After observing for a while, Lu Chen immediately realized that it was Yi Bufan who broke the shackles of heaven and earth. Lu Chen has already read the original work, and naturally knows that the ancient holy body breaks the shackles of heaven and earth and creates a vision. The majestic and terrifying abnormality now is obviously the abnormality of Yi Bufan breaking the shackles. You obviously took away the opportunity of Yinjian Peak and beat him up, but you still have the opportunity to break the shackles of heaven and earth. You are worthy of being the protagonist of destiny. Lu Chen frowned slightly and murmured in his heart. In the original work, Yi Bufan passed through the terrifying sword intent of Silver Sword Peak, and under the baptism of the violent sword intent, he also broke the shackles of heaven and earth, and his potential strength increased a lot. Lu Chen thought that after breaking the sword intention, Yi Bufan would not be able to break the shackles so easily. At least, not so soon. Now it seems that I still underestimated this destiny protagonist. The protagonist of destiny is really blessed by destiny. I suppressed him like this, but still gave him a chance to rise up. Hearing Lu Chen's words, Yinger was slightly stunned and said in disbelief, "How is it possible? The ancient holy body's shackles of heaven and earth are extremely powerful and difficult to break. Why does he, Yi Bufan, have it?" After the ancient holy body was imprisoned, many ancient holy bodies also appeared in the divine world. However, there are very few holy bodies that can break the shackles of heaven and earth. Being able to break 3 shackles of heaven and earth is already quite terrifying. Now, after Yi Bufan broke the 3 shackles of heaven and earth, he can break the shackles of heaven and earth again. It is simply incredible. Yi Bufan has been clamoring to deal with Lu Chen before. As Lu Chen's confidant, Yinger naturally pays close attention to him. In Yinger's view, although Yi Bufan has good talent, He just broke the 3 shackles of heaven and earth by chance and does not have much potential at all. Don't underestimate Yi Bufan, he is not simple. Lu Chen raised his eyebrows and continued, didn't I ask the shadow guard to monitor the movements of Yi Bufan and the 2 of them? Just ask and you will know. Maybe, you can from there we can find the reason why Yi Bufan broke the shackles of heaven and earth again. Yinger nodded, and then immediately summoned the shadow guard. Your Highness the Holy Sun, yesterday Elder Qin Yuning from Zixia Peak went to Tianji Peak to look for Yi Bufan and stayed there for a long time. After Elder Qin entered Tianji Peak, we shadow guards did not dare to pay too much attention to the investigation. We did not know what happened inside. However, the strange movement in Tianji Peak slowly broke out shortly after Elder Qin Yuning left. Perhaps this matter has something to do with Elder Qin. Soon, a shadow guard came to Lu Chen and respectfully reported the results of the surveillance. Qin Yuning, it's her. But, in the original work, didn't Qin Yuning come into contact with Yi Bufan only after Yi Bufan defeated me? Why now? Lu Chen's eyes narrowed slightly, and a beautiful woman with a hot figure and an extremely cold figure flashed in his mind. Of course Lu Chen knew the identity of Qin Yuning. She was from the Qin family in Zhongyu and had a distinguished status. She had been silently paying attention to Yi Bufan at the absolute beginning Holy Land. The reason why Qin Yuning pays attention to Yi Bufan is that besides Yi Bufan's ancient holy body, there is another reason. She is Yi Bufan's aunt. In the original work, Qin Yuning only paid silent attention to Yi Bufan in the early stage, and did not pay too much special attention to him. Going directly to Tianji Peak to look for Yi Bufan like this has never happened. After all, Qin Yuning calls herself a member of the Emperor clan and is extremely proud. Even if she is Yi Bufan's aunt, she will not let go of her figure casually until Yi Bufan shows enough value. It seems that my choices have changed the plot to some extent, and everything is slowly deviating from the plot. Lu Chen immediately realized that the plot was slowly changing because of his choices, and the future had already changed after his arrival. Your own choices not only change yourself, but also interfere with and change the fate of others. Is this interesting? If everything remains unchanged according to the original work, the future is determined, and everything goes according to step, what breakthrough value does such a world have? Lu Chen exhaled a deep breath, and his heart soon became firm again. Bang bang bang. After a while, with the sound of terrifying collisions, one of the 7 shackles of heaven and earth that appeared above Tianji Peak was shattered by a terrifying breath. Whoosh whoosh. After the shackles of heaven and earth were broken, all the strange phenomena in the sky disappeared, and countless inspirations rushed towards Tianji Peak crazily. It's over. Yi Bufan has really broken another shackles of heaven and earth. His holy body has broken 4 shackles of heaven and earth. Looking at the many shackles dissipating in the distance, Yinger said slowly, with a complicated look in his eyes. Your Highness the Holy Sun, how about we find someone to arrest Yi Bufan? Yinger then made a motion of slitting his throat with his hands, and said slowly to Lu Chen. After many previous events, Lu Chen and Yi Bufan had already developed quite a grudge. Now Yi Bufan has broken another shackles of heaven and earth. If he is allowed to continue to grow, he will become a big trouble in the future. It is better to kill him now to avoid future troubles. No, he is not simple. Just play with Yi Bufan slowly. Not to mention that he has only broken 4 shackles now. Even if all 10 shackles are broken, I am confident that I will keep stepping on him. Lu Chen shook his head and rejected Yinger's proposal. Yi Bufan's identity is not simple. His mother is the daughter of the Emperor clan Qin family, and his father's background is also profound. Many people are secretly paying attention to Yi Bufan. Within the rules, there is no problem if you try to manipulate or even humiliate Yi Bufan. However, if you want to kill Yi Bufan now, those guys in the dark will not agree. Killing him is no less difficult than killing a peak sage, or even more difficult. Even if he was lucky enough to kill Yi Bufan now, Lu Chen didn't feel like he had much chance due to the utter madness of those guys. After all, he is just a little villain, the Holy Sun. Facing the giants hidden behind him, he is just a little shrimp. Therefore, if you want to kill Yi Bufan, now is not a good time. The destiny of the protagonist is not something you just say casually. This was also the reason why Yi Bufan was not in a hurry to kill Yi Bufan. Lu Chen didn't want to lose his life in vain. He has a god-level selection system and an infinitely bright future. Now, the best way is to develop well, slowly suppress Yi Bufan, and improve your own strength. As for Yi Bufan, Lu Chen believes that the day when he will be completely finished will not be too far away. Your Highness the Holy Sun, I understand. Yinger nodded obediently, without any doubts about Lu Chen's words. Next, continue to monitor Yi Bufan and Yi Lingxi. After this guy broke the shackles, his strength should have improved a lot. Be careful to hide. Lu Chen said to the Shadow Guard members in front. The members of the Shadow Guard said respectfully, yes, Your Highness the Holy Sun, my subordinates will definitely be careful. Lu Chen continued, also, Red Flame Spiritual Liquid, collect a large amount of Red Flame Spiritual Liquid for me, the more, the better. Red Flame Spiritual Liquid is a spiritual object for practicing from the 4th layer to the 6th layer of Phoenix Nirvana Sutra, and the quantity is in great demand. Although Lu Chen's Phoenix Nirvana Sutra has only reached the 2nd layer, the Red Flame Spiritual Liquid is the top body refining divine liquid, which is very valuable and rare. So, the sooner you collect it, the better. The Shadow Guard nodded, and then went to carry out Lu Chen's order. Now that Yi Bufan has broken the shackles again, I can't slack off. I'll finish practicing the 3rd layer of Phoenix Nirvana Sutra first, and then go get in touch with Zhang Yuchen. Lu Chen looked at Tianji Peak in the distance, which was constantly absorbing the wisdom of heaven and earth, and he already had a plan in mind. One day later, Mount Virgin. The Virgin's Peak is located in the southern area of the Absolute Beginning Holy Land. It is full of spiritual energy, has many spiritual plants, and exudes a rich and incomparable fragrance. Because of Zhang Yuchen's special identity, the spiritual power of Saintis Peak is even more abundant than that of Absolute Beginning Holy Land, Holy Master Peak. On the Saintis Peak, many Absolute Beginning Holy Land disciples are practicing in the Saintis Peak. In the center of the Saints' Peak, a huge luxurious palace is located in the center, surrounded by spiritual gathering arrays that gather the spiritual power of the surrounding heaven and earth. Welcome to Her Majesty the Saint for her departure. In the palace, there were waves of respectful voices. Many disciples of Saints' Peak knelt in front of the palace, their faces full of respect. Then, a stunning woman with elegant temperament, pure and refined appearance, and charming eyebrows slowly walked out of the palace. The stunning woman is wearing a purple dress, with a slim figure and skin as delicate as white jade, like a fairy who does not eat the fireworks of the world. Keep practicing. Zhang Yuchen raised her jade hand lightly, and a soft spiritual power lifted up all the disciples in front of the palace. Yes, Your Highness the Saint. Many disciples said respectfully, and then continued to practice at Saintis Peak to improve their strength. Beside Zhang Yuchen, the charming maid Yun'er followed Zhang Yuchen on the Saintis Peak and asked, Your Highness, is the 9 turns pinch pill effective? Zhang Yuchen didn't speak, just shook her head gently. Even the 9-turn Nirvana pill has no effect. This injury is too terrible. Seeing Zhang Yuchen's answer, a look of disappointment flashed across Yun'er's face. It doesn't matter, I've already gotten used to it. Even if I'm injured, I can still compete with many super geniuses. Zhang Yuchen's face was expressionless and she spoke extremely calmly. Her words were full of scornful confidence, and she was not affected by the wound that was like a gangrene attached to the bone. If Her Majesty the Saint had no injuries, she would be able to suppress those super geniuses easily. Yun'er couldn't help but think in her heart. Zhang Yuchen's talent is extremely terrifying, and with the support of the Emperor clan Zhang family, her talent and strength are among the best among the younger generation in the entire divine world. This was despite the existence of Dao Shang. Without Dao Shang, Yun'er couldn't imagine how terrifying Zhang Yuchen's potential would be. After a while, Yun'er seemed to have thought of something, and then said, Your Highness the Holy Lady, why don't you let him take a look at the ancient holy body that came to our Saintis Peak with Yi Lingxi last time? Maybe he has something way. Zhang Yuchen opened her lips slightly and said calmly, even the ancestors of the Yaoling tribe can't do anything. What methods can he, an ancient holy body, have? Forget it, those are just his excuses to get close to me. Yun'er continued, Your Highness the Saint, that Yi Bufan is not simple. He broke another shackles of heaven and earth yesterday, and now he has broken 4 shackles of heaven and earth. Another shackle between heaven and earth has been broken. Hearing Yunur's words, Zhang Yuchen's eyes flashed with something strange. The ancient holy body has a super heaven-defying physique, and its shackles are very difficult to break. Breaking the shackles continuously is to some extent even more difficult than her Taoist injury. This Yi Bufan can actually break through 4 shackles, there must be something extraordinary about him. The last time she met him, Zhang Yuchen also felt something special about Yi Bufan. Although he is a little arrogant, he still has a lot of strength. In this case, maybe she could really let him try. Many thoughts flashed through Zhang Yuchen's mind. Thinking of this, Zhang Yuchen continued, in that case, then. Your Highness the Saint, Holy Son Lu Chen has come to our Saint's Peak to meet with Your Highness the Saint. Before Zhang Yuchen finished speaking, a disciple from Saint's Peak came to Zhang Yuchen and said, Lu Chen, what is he here for? Zhang Yuchen was full of doubts. Although they were both saints and saints, they had no connection at all. Zhang Yuchen couldn't guess, and then said calmly, let him come in. I'm already in. At this time, a clear voice sounded. A black stream of light appeared in the space in front, and Lu Chen's figure appeared out of thin air in front of Zhang Yuchen. Great accomplishments transformation into a perfect state. Looking at the sudden appearance of the figure, Zhang Yuchen's pupils shrank, and she recognized it at a glance. Lu Chen was using the earth-level martial arts of the absolute beginning Holy Land, which is to change the body. This transformation is very mysterious and is an extremely advanced movement technique. Although it is only heavenly grade martial arts, its practice is extremely difficult, no less than ordinary heavenly grade martial arts. Zhang Yuchen also practiced this martial arts, but it took Zhang Yuchen a lot of time to practice the shapeshifting to the point of basic accomplishment. As expected of Zhang Yuchen, you can tell at a glance. Seeing Zhang Yuchen recognize his martial arts, Lu Chen praised him without hesitation. Is his cultivation at the late stage of the creation realm? Zhang Yuchen did not answer Lu Chen's words, but was even more surprised. Both of them are influential figures in the absolute beginning Holy Land, so Zhang Yuchen naturally pays some attention to Lu Chen. Zhang Yuchen knew that not long ago, Lu Chen was only in the life and death realm. Now, in a short period of time, he has reached the creation realm, and is in the late stage of the creation realm. Moreover, the faint aura emanating from Lu Chen's body made her, a young super prodigy who had broken through to the saint realm, feel a slight sense of oppression. Seeing Zhang Yuchen staring at him, Lu Chen quickly asked softly, what, is there something on my face? It's okay. It's just that I haven't seen him for many days. Mr. Lu Chen's strength seems to have increased a lot, which makes me a little surprised. Zhang Yuchen smiled slightly and said generously. Thanks for watching.